We've headed into the game, but my faith in Polar Ace is renewed. It's time for game 1 of 5 here in the semi-finals.
My life been good and bad and all around. The more things I lost, the more I found. One thing I taught myself to do, no matter the problem, refuse to lose. So
all the way in, Nixie over the wall, steals the man as well. Of the Thieves of the 2 steals are back in this game.
soon I'm getting up while y'all just snooze.
Oh! Winter, the flash engage, gets you out in huge trouble. He's just assassinated by the support.
In me I trust, yeah, I smell like success. This Elon Musk, huh? Everybody wanna be like.
Ladies and gentlemen, call your friends, bring up your family, sit them down in front of the TV. We're going all the way to game 5. All the way to game 5.
Run for your life.
In amateur, I kind of already conquered it. I had already gotten first place in the scouting ground circuit pretty handedly.
It's going that's going to be by fire. He's got it, a double, a triple with the aid of Shoryu.
Won't you come and see what it's like?
Oh, again!
Again! The second time this series of players, a double kill to NXI. The hero of this game gets 3 in the fight that may decide it all. ANEW lead up the top lane, and that is a firm lead in game 5. And there it is, 100 Thieves next. ANEW return to the battle, and they will be going all the way to the grand finals to face 100 Thieves next again in the battle for the top of North American Amateur. Steal away the series, 3-2 in a reverse sweep, the comeback, and they are going to the grand finals of Challengers Uprising.
Run for your life. Run for your life.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The moment you have been waiting for has finally arrived. Broadcasting you live from Esports Stadium, Arlington, here in Texas. My name is Mark Alexander Aramide. Joining me on the analyst desk here, we've got, of usual, Smacks and Cubby, but also have a very special guest that is joining us all the way from across the pond, ladies and gentlemen. Veteran, welcome to the desk, man. So glad to have you here today.
Yeah, it's fantastic to be here, actually, and I couldn't really be more excited about being a part of this. The evolution of these teams, the what's at stake here. Also, you know what? It doesn't matter where you start; it matters where you end. I think if ANEW take it here, they were still the better team at the end. I think everything's up for grabs here. You know.
Ooh. Yeah, absolutely. I'm. The journey to this moment has been so incredible to watch, but in order to understand that journey, ladies and gentlemen, we have to take a back and look where we started. After the regular season was concluded, we got into the playoffs, where 100 Thieves next took down Mirage Esports in a 2-0 fashion, then coming behind from a reverse sweeping situation against Polar Ace to be on the top side of that bracket, whereas for the lower side, ANEW Esports taking down Supernova Dark Matter and Frostfire in a grueling 5-game series, and now we'll be facing 100 Thieves next here. And the special thing about this one, Smacks, in particular, is 100 Thieves next, they've already taken down ANEW Esports with their old roster in the Bloody Invitational Gaming League, but also they just took down ANEW 3-1 in Upsurge Premier League's finals last night. So now 100 Thieves next are here looking for that Grand Slam.
Yeah, the road to this grand finals has not been an easy one. They, of course, both had 5-game grueling series in their semifinal. And just like you mentioned, Rafa, this is not their first go at each other's throats. They played in LWL. They played in Big. They played in UPL. They played twice in Big, actually, in the winners finals as well. But this is their first crack at each other over here on Wednesday in Challengers Uprising in the grand finals. And if 100 Thieves win this, this is that Grand Slam. This is the victorious moment in not this league, but all 4 that they've played in this season of Scouting Grounds. That would be something else if 100 Next can do it here tonight. They already did get that victory yesterday. maybe the momentum's still in their hands, guys. This is 100 Thieves game to lose, I think.
Yeah,
That's
nothing
the question
like
that we're going to be asking here. And Cubby, I know you want to jump in on this because you've been a big 100 Thieves fan and you're still trying to support them, even though Kenby has left the team. He's gone on to greater things in Academy. I know you're thinking about him all the time, but now we're looking at 100 Thieves next with this new roster, which the first time that we did see on Challengers Uprising was in that semifinals against Polar A's. And Cubby, kind of talk to me and break down how did that performance go against Polar A's?
I mean, no one really knew what to expect with this new roster coming on in, and they actually really kind of changed up their gameplay. So we have something very different going on with that team. They're very bot focused now.
Oh, it looks like someone turned on the heat in Cubby's apartment right now, but that makes sense because this is a super hot fire game series we got going on right now. I do want to give a little mention to this 100 Thieves roster once again. And in fact, if we can show some of their amazing clips and fights against Polar Ace from last series, you can get an understanding of why, even though they have a new top laner from Fallen Bandit and NXI here, veteran, why their play doesn't seem to have let up.
Yeah, and I think it's incredible to me, to be honest, that this team, if anything, has actually somewhat improved with their recent roster changes. This isn't a team that makes things easy for themselves, historically speaking, I'll tell you that. When Tenacity was there, you saw a lot of Gangplanks, a lot of Camille's, a lot of heavy split push comps, a lot of times where they had really good map state but weren't quite able to close it. But with Fallen Bandit, they do still have the odd Gangplank game, but he'll take out stuff like the Ornn, like you're seeing on screen right now. He'll take out stuff like the Kennen, and he'll group up with his team and they'll force fights. And look at the kill lines on all of the clips that you're seeing here, right? Every single game is a full fiesta, and here, if your team is better at grouping than the enemy team, then you're obviously going to end up winning out on more and more fights. So they aren't trying as much as they were with their previous roster, but what they are trying now, it is working out for them, and you can somewhat understand why it'd be working out for them, this new kind of change in mode. I think it also really does benefit NXI himself that they are switching to more utility on their top laner now, because NXI himself, you see the Kha'Zix, he goes for Nidalee, he goes for Graves. The most utility you really see him go for is something like the Lee Sin, right? So you make up for that with something on your top lane like the Ornn here. So I think they are coming into a good identity if you are playing to win, even if maybe they're not trying as much as they did with the previous iteration. Undeniably, they have been successful with their change.
Yeah, and this is just one of those things where we're able to see that evolution despite having a new roster. And, sometimes when you are able to just change all 4 players to buckle down after just one new addition rather than having that player adapt to what the whole team aspect is trying to go for, then you can just see much more comfortable results. And 100 Thieves next have been able to adapt to that beautifully. Here we see that final roster that will be playing in tonight's series against ANEW Esports, with Fallen Bandit in the top lane, NXI in the jungle, Copy in the mid lane, Yon and Otto in that bottom lane. And just to give you guys a brief understanding, what is that impact and efficiency rating? It's a little custom stat that Challengers Uprising has made here to basically accumulate a bunch of other things apart from KDA, as well as things of their vision control, just trying to accumulate and calculate really custom-made stat here to give you an idea how much presence they have on the map on a game average basis. And I know, Cubby, you were looking at I'm going to throw it back to you once again because, it's been hard ever since Kenby left because you're such a diehard fan of his. But, how does this new... I know, I love putting you on the spot for this, but how does this old 100 Thieves roster break down versus with NXI now on the lineup?
Honestly, it feels like the old one, they really had 2 options on how to play. Like, one, you could play directly through Kenby, and the other one is that you'd put a lot of resources into Tenacity and have Yon and Otto really play weak side bot lane. But now that they have NXI, they've actually really changed up their playstyle. We see Fallen Bandit oftentimes sacking his lane to go TP bot, make sure that Yon gets ahead. And we see other times where, NXI, who pretty much strictly plays Graves, Nidalee, Lee Sin, in your face, high damage junglers with little crowd control, they build comps around him and give him tools like a Galio mid, give him tools like an Ornn top or a Kennen top, and really set up the map for him go off. I mean, I think one of the most telling signs of this is the fact that if Hunter Thieves next, if they have a better level 1, they oftentimes like bring Fallen Bandit down. They will invade bot side late with their bot lane, and he will just TP back to lane, right? Like that's a huge cooldown being burned, but it sets NXI up for success. And honestly, he's been really good at driving home those advantages too.
Yeah, I for one have been very, very impressed with how they've been playing with this new roster. I remember having a conversation with TJ and Iberia just yesterday during that series they had against ANEW, where TJ was like, Smex, do you think that NXI is better than Kenvi? I was like, well, not really. Do you think that Tenacity is better than Fallen Bandit? Yeah. Like, I think that the old players individually were better, but I do think that this team has a much clearer identity with how they do want to play. It's making NXI look really, really solid because he does have that extra top laner being a more supportive player to him, and it's making him get all of these highlight reels like I'm sure we're about to see in these ones right here. Getting these kills on the Nidalee, getting the pentakill on the Graves yesterday. This man is on fire on this squad.
And there was something that there's something that is different about NXI's playstyle versus Kenvi. Even though a lot of their champion pulls are very similar here, veteran, there was more of a calculated aggression with Kenvi, whereas for NXI, it is just complete chaos.
And I think that's actually benefited the team overall as well, because with Kenvi, you very often saw Copy when he was able to get any sort of lane priority, he would very often transition that in towards fixing the map state. If Kenvi hadn't really done it properly at the time, Kenvi, as you're saying, was a lot more calculated, but because of that, there was a lot more room for Copy to have to be taking the role of fixing these wave states around the map. Whereas right now, because NXI is just permanently piling on the pressure, there's one very obvious focal point everyone kind of has to collapse on, and it's much less about if Copy is going to try to fix the map alone, and much more about, is Copy going to follow 5fire, for example, to this skirmish on time? Copy's like a secondary here, because NXI is already there, already creating chaos. He's not... I will say he doesn't strike me as like the smartest jungler in the world, but that's really fine, because playing as aggressively as he is and turning this into the mechanic simulator that, you know, good regional leagues should be, and the NA Amateur League should be as well, will only showcase his talents that can be refined in time once he gets higher up opportunities, right? So I'm fine with how it is now. I think he actually took a load off of Copy's mind, which could be really good for this specific matchup, because the biggest discrepancy, I think, is actually going to be in that midsection 5fire versus Copy. So for NXI to relieve Copy of responsibility somewhat is very beneficial for them.
Right, and as we dive into that mid lane matchup between 5fire and Copy, we do have to pay a little bit of respect towards that whole ANEW roster and give them a chance to get some credit before we talk more about 5fire. But this roster, on paper, at the beginning of the Scouting Ground season, was projected to be already one of the best, but those games in the beginning, they were looking kind of shaky. The trust and the synergy wasn't always there, but as they got into the playoff bracket here, Smacks, things started cleaning up for this roster overall once they put more faith into Mike Young.
Yeah, they absolutely did. And the faith in Mike Young is really what I want to highlight for these guys. We heard it a couple of times on air in the 5fire interview as well, where he's really putting all of that faith into Mike Young. He's really following up on his aggressive plays, and you're seeing with the trust in Mike Young, it's given him more confidence to go for the plays, and they work out more often as well, which is just good all around for this team. It's leading to plays being made on the top side, in the bot side, and you can really feel that the team synergy is at an all-time high up until they play against 100 next, because of course they've got to be second best to someone, and 100 Thieves are really that. But I do have to commend for sure that ANEW are really stepping it up in the later stages of the season, and I think a lot of that is due to their just stacked veteran roster here.
It's funny too, right? Because there was obviously that SGC announcement that came later in the season, where we found out that some of the players of ANEW wouldn't even be available to go to SGC if they did qualify. And it felt like once that announcement came out, the team just kind of band together and started to play together. I know that we had both Winter and Shoryu on the podcast, and Shoryu was very clear, direct, and sharp in the fact, like, yeah, we really don't care who we face. We just want to beat them and like show that we're the best. And they've really stepped up and started to do that with some team play. I think one of the interesting parts about yesterday's match as well, obviously them getting 3-1'd, is when you see them have success when they build comps around Mike Young, bring a lot of things to the table for him to play with. Like when he's picking Nidalee, they're doing a good job of pairing that with stuff like a Galio, stuff like a Pantheon. They tried to do that game 1 yesterday. It didn't work out for them, and they just gave up on the strategy. Like that's something that was very curious to me, the fact that they're so apt to aggression usually, and once that didn't work out, they just immediately went to, all right, guys, we're not playing well today, we're just going to scale. And I'm curious to see if that changes today, because these guys, when they do play aggressive, when they do have priority, they can really drive those leads home.
And before Veteran gets a chance to give his contributions to ANEW Esports as well, because we've definitely had some back and forth conversations about it. We do want to give shout outs to this roster: Rodolph in the top lane, Mike Young in the jungle, 5Fire in the mid lane, Shoryu and Winner rocking that bottom lane duo. And for those who are just tuning in, that impact efficiency rating is something that Challengers Uprising has made as a custom stat that just takes a combination of KDA, CS per minute, vision score, damage share, gold share. It is something that Challengers Uprising has been able to take all together and calculate as a high to just show what the presence is like on that rift. But for Veteran here, for ANEW Esports, you were leading into that 5Fire is really, as to loosely quote, is by far basically the best player on this roster.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but there's like a really interesting point there that was being brought up about Mike Young and the impact that he has had on there and playing around Mike Young. I actually think, especially if we do look at yesterday's series, the biggest advantages they were getting was a lot from top lane actually as well with Rodolph. So as much as I am going to praise 5Fire, I do wonder if maybe we're just going to see Mike Young tend towards that top side and try to make that work. Because the big thing that we normally see from 5Fire is very good at getting lane advantages himself. He is the best laning mid laner that I've seen in this tournament for sure. He is undisputedly the best mid laner in this particular match, but he'll normally try to transfer that towards bot side of the map rather than persistently trying to translate that top side and trying to turn their lead top into something that is impossible to come back from, right? And we've talked a lot about how Fallen Bandit plays very survive side even when he's on the gangplank. Maybe this is something that this team could be looking to abuse, right? Mike Young and 5Fire playing together around that top side, individual advantages that are accrued by 5Fire, while Mike Young plays for economy, both tending towards the same side of the map, launching those Ukes top, getting Rodolph ahead, putting Fallen Bandit behind. But you can see, even if he does come in with his utility, you have an area of strength that they were able to do nothing in, and hopefully that can make up for any sort of discrepancy that could occur in the bot lane, where I still feel like the advantage is going to be on the side of 100 Thieves next.
Especially considering the bot lane's performance yesterday in UPL series, you would definitely want to see more global draft compositions coming out from ANEW, but focusing for Rodolph to take advantage of Fallen Bandit in that top lane matchup. Instead of the set, we see something more split push intensive like a Camille pick that can open up for a 1-3-1, because we've seen how beautifully 5Fire is able to pick take champions like the Pantheon if it's for himself, the Twisted Fate, the Galio as well. It just comes down to execution, right? Which unfortunately for ANEW Esports last night was not seen very cleanly on the most part. But 5Fire,
clean.
Nothing. You're absolutely
right. They have to be clean to win. They just have to be slightly more clean than the opponents, or maybe just slightly more scrappy even, all right? At the very least, they don't have to be clean. And they were close. They seem it's honestly surprising to me that we talk about yesterday as like a 3-1. It seemed so much closer than that. It seemed like a game that was absolutely in use to win. And the glorious man on your screen is like a big reason why, right? And if he translates his advantages to other places, he's really going to open up massive holes on the side of 100 Thieves next. Like, Copy can't really handle this guy in lane. If you give him someone that can get priority, he's not really going to let that up. I know the global composition didn't work out for them first game yesterday, but that's the kind of thing that I think they could really, really benefit from all-inning on, and I do have high hopes for them. And you know what? It doesn't really matter if you lost like 3 out of 4 times versus these guys. So long as you won the last one, you were definitely the better team at the end. You were the better team at the end, and that's what matters. They can't contest that for another goddamn season. So win it now and know that you were the better team when push came to shove. All right, and deny the Grand Slam. I do think they can do it.
I like the bold words coming out here. That's something else. There is a lot on the line here. Obviously, not only are there SGC points on the line, I know those are set, but $15,000 is a pretty substantial prize pool, and having that go to either of these teams has to feel good for these players who have worked so hard to get there, and these teams have played so well. Not to mention the grinding semifinals that they played through all 5 games quite a bit. But this is the matchup that I think everyone kind of has their eyes on, right? Because in most of the games that we've seen these guys, it really feels like Fire, he needs to get ahead in that mid lane for ANEW to function, right? He needs to make sure that he's putting Copy significantly behind because he is the best player on his team, arguably the best player on Summoner's Rift for this series as well. And if ANEW wants to have success and not have the script go 3-1 like it did yesterday, really think Fire has to step up and have some better games.
And I think to give Copy a little bit more credit, of course, I fully agree.
Yeah.
I think Fire is the best player in this particular match. To give Copy a little bit of credit, you can't just look at the mid lane 1v1 matchup as an isolated thing. It is more often a 2v2. And especially when you do have these junglers on the Rift who do want to take up carry positions, NXI, Mike Young, with their aggressiveness, with their late game scaling as well on the side of NXI, especially, you do have to be that kind of supportive role to these guys as well. And I think in that way, Copy does dress to impress in these games, especially yesterday when we did see NXI on his Nidalee, on his Graves. I'm expecting a lot more of those champions today as well. And I think the Copy does do quite a nice job supporting NXI in his endeavors as well, alongside the rest of this team for 100 Next too. But again, that's not to take away from Fire. That guy is a monster on the Rift.
Yep.
And I expect that he's going to have a greater amount of success, especially if that bot lane can shore up a few of those weaknesses that we saw yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, they need to shore up much more than just a few weaknesses. They need to shore up that execution, as Veteran was alluding to. But as we get ready to finally kind of put the money where the mouth is and looking at how 100 Thieves Next do stack up against ANEW Esports, despite the new roster for 100 Thieves and their matchup and how the performance was from last night. Analyst, I'm going to have to ask you to do something. On the count of 3, we're going to all dab because
God.
It has been requested by some mods.
Veteran
in chat,
is not
so
impressed.
I know. Veteran, if you
not
don't
what
want to
Veteran signed up for.
it's okay. This is something that we're in prison for. So 3, 2, 1. What? Thank you,
That was my
producer Corey.
salary.
We demanded an increased pay grade just for dabbing as content on air. This is not what
The only dabs that I am going to witness today, are probably going to be NXI over Mike Young, I'm going to say, but it's going to be Fire over Copy, okay? And then I predict that Fallen Bandit's going to get a game-winning engage at least one of these games. Those are the dabs that I am anticipating.
That's a pretty good prediction, yeah.
If all those things happen, will you dab on screen after that?
It should be if all those things don't happen, I'll dab on screen. How about that?
Oh,
Right?
okay.
Okay.
I'll need to make up for the dabs, so remember the list.
All
We
right,
also forgot
production team,
the penguin dab emote. We should see a lot of those as well. That's a high quality emote coming out from the store.
And we'll have a check mark or a checklist as we'll be going along. Is it just for game 1 or for all 5 games here, Veteran?
For all 5 games, I'd say.
Okay,
So
yeah,
you have
okay.
to-
It's just a full-fledged bingo
the
card
winning
at that point.
matchups need to be like 3 out of 5 games then, for it to count.
We've got
Full
Cup
Bandit
Bingo
only.
coming on in now for the desk.
You just watch Fallen Bandit choose 0 engage for the rest of the series, and it'll just never happen.
Oh man,
Just-
it's
just-
just on Gangplank every single game,
just
right?
becomes-
It's like,
It becomes a Fiora one trick for the rest of the day. You know, it's just
oh
never
my
happens.
god. That would be something. He was hovering Jackson last night's series, and I thought that was a
It's
bait. Which,
true.
he did switch it back.
Hey,
over
you
to
can
the game.
engage with Jax, all right? You can get some bangeries
Oh.
with Jax, all right?
Flashy counter.
That'll be his
or-
moment. It will be the flank to end all flanks, all right? Just ends
Yeah,
the
the ultimate
entire
coach
career
gift.
right there.
Yeah.
If that happens,
exactly.
that would be miraculous here. But as we are wrapping up, let's go start, with Smacks here. Kind of, looking at 100 Thieves X and ANEW Esports, how this new roster with their win conditions in mind versus ANEW's win conditions in mind. Not only tell me how you think it's going to go down, but give me your predictions as well for this series overall.
Well, as I predicted so beautifully, so immaculately on the podcast previously yesterday, everyone laughed at me. Someone, one of the new staff members, Keelix, clipped it and he posted it with a question mark. He's like, "Smacks, what are you talking about?" I was right. I'm gonna predict the same way again. I'm going with 100 Thieves taking this series 3-1 again. And I think that is very, very heavily because of NXI's presence on this team. Like I mentioned previously, they really do know how to play around him. They have that extra support on the top side. They've spent the entire season long with Kenvi on their team as a carry. So you know that Jan, Otto, and Copy are really, really good at carrying that jungle, or supporting the jungle carry, rather. So I think that NXI is going to get them another series victory. They're going to get that Grand Slam, and I'm going 3-1.
Wow. Okay. So we have Smacks just running it back. That's some great analysis coming in, Smacks. The fact that you don't think the series is going to change at all. I'm going to not change my prediction as well going off of that. Mine last night was ANEW 3-2. I think ANEW played really bad, had an off day. I want to see more comps from them where they really try and play around Mike Young and get to that bottom side. I understand that Fallen Bandit's a weaker point. He is a strong player in his own right, but keep in mind, he's been coaching this team for the last few months, right? His skills coming in from COG for LCS and Academy. They're not quite back yet. I know he's practicing. He's starting to play better, but I think Rodolph has a big advantage in that lane, and he can handle him on his own. I think 100 Thieves next, they play much better around bot lane, but I think that ANEW, if they draft the right compositions, they play aggressive early, they get 5-Fire out of lane, they can smash the map. And they tried it game 1 yesterday. It didn't work out for them, and they just want the full scaling. I want to see more aggression coming out from them. I've seen Winter, Mike Young, and 5-Fire just absolutely blow games wide open. We saw it in semifinals here as well, if you tuned into those against Frostfire. I want to see ANEW run that back. If they do that, I think they find success and find a 3-2. It's going to be a close series, though.
You know what, guys? I get it, all right? Like, 3 times we've seen this fight happen, and 3 times it's gone the same way. 2 different 100 Thieves rosters, and you haven't been able to find it. But you know what? All right? I think 5-Fire can do it, all right? I think Mike Young can do it. I think even Rodov on the top lane can do it. They've gotten advantages every game. These have all been games they look like they can win, and I think that they can go blow for blow, fight for fight, scrappy fight for scrappy fight, unclean map setup into unclean map setup, and match this 100 Thieves roster toe for toe, right down to the finish line for the entire series. I think they can take a game. I think they can take a second game. I think they can run them right up to the Nexus, and then 100 Thieves will win 3-2, and it will be the Grand Slam for them.
Let's go. Let's go.
Veteran, my explanation wasn't as long-winded and beautiful as yours, but I'm just based on results. I know last night when we were watching the Upsurge series, I thought that ANEW should have had it in the bag on paper, but just the way that 100 Thieves have been able to progress in such a fast and meticulous manner to adapt around NXI, I mean, he has just become the key for how this team plays. And Jan and Otto have immensely stepped up their play, going from, sometimes inconsistent bot laners to being just absolutely monstrous. For a while, I would think that Shori and Winter were the better bot lane, but now clearly in my heart, Jan and Otto are the better bot lane right now, just based on their play. So I think it will be close, but 100 Thieves are going to take this 3-2. But we actually are getting word. Say that again, producer. We're having another special guest analyst coming in. Who's that? Foxy! Welcome back, baby. What do you got for us today?
Foxy, Challengers Uprising Finals, 100 Thieves next versus ANEW. You ready for your prediction? Let's go. Uh-oh. She's found ANEW first. She's feeling strong about the boys in blue. She's looking for food near her bowl. You have 5 seconds, Foxy. 1, 2. Oh my god! 100 Thieves. She thinks it's going to be a close one. That's it. ANEW over 100 Thieves are going to take it in the historic best of 5 finals of the first season of Challengers Uprising.
Ooh. Foxy going with the ANEW prediction. I'm going to have to disagree respectfully, Foxy. I'm still sticking by my 100 Thieves 3-2 prediction. But, as we are wrapping up, I believe the casters are almost getting ready, but starting with veteran, any final words on this series before we get into draft?
That's one of the smartest analysts I've ever seen, getting its food from the bowl now. However, I do ultimately think they'll be a bit wrong, but I do think it will be a very, very close game. I can see it go either way. I am rooting for ANEW, all right? I am rooting for ANEW a bit, even if I do think ultimately it's going to be a 100 Thieves win anyway. That being said, 100 Thieves has so much new blood on it that I do want to see it work out. NXI's introduction into the scene is brilliant, to be honest, because I've never seen NXI before he played his very recent debut games with this 100 Thieves next lineup. It indicates that there is a lot of power in North American solo queue that has gone untapped. It's not just the talents that have been around for years in the NA amateur scene that the future of the region is relying on. There is a lot of talent out there potentially, and I think NXI is showing that, and I am rooting for them as well, as much as I would love to see ANEW get the upset on the very, very last game and just make it that bit interesting, I think it will be interesting regardless, but yeah.
I've been host gapped every single time on this desk, and I've been host gapped so bad that even the guest analyst is gapping me. So I'm glad that I have Foxy on my side. I think ANEW can pull this one out. It's going to have to be off the back of FiveFire. I think Copy's playing very well, but FiveFire goes for individual advantages. If he presses his lead appropriately in his lane, I really think that if they take early game comps, this is going to be better for the side of ANEW Esports, and we're going to have to see if they can pull it on through.
Wow, my final thoughts here are that 100 looked really, really good in that last series last night. They shut down the win conditions of ANEW very, very well. They gapped bot so incredibly hard. And I imagine that they're going to have a very similar amount of success in this one. And I think the NXI, I predicted a very specific prediction in the staff channel. I think NXI is going to get a sick quadra kill, and that's going to be the team fight that Cubby breaks down next.
Bold predictions from you two.
Yeah,
I plays in the game.
I love the hot profit takes here, because then we can hold you accountable once they're correct or if they're incorrect later as the series progresses. But, before we get a chance to throw it to the casters and get ready for game one of this draft, we do have a very special message from our amazing commissioner, Chrono, and he has a few words to share with all of you lovely viewers.
Hi, my name is Chris, better known as Chrono in esports circles, and before our finals tonight, I wanted to take some time to address you, the audience, about the future of Challengers Uprising. Before I do that, I wanted to say thank you to our audience. You've welcomed us with open arms and allowed us to reach levels that were previously thought to be impossible for the amateur scene in League of Legends. So thank you so much for all of your support this season. Next, I wanted to take some time to thank the players and team support staff, the coaches, the managers, the GMs, all of the assistants that help get these things done. You guys are the reason we're here. We're here to enable you, to support you, and help you realize your pro dreams in North America. As a thank you for the outstanding support and the amazing games and content that you've provided us this season, we're going to be sending you some exclusive Challengers Uprising merchandise at the conclusion of this season. And finally, I want to thank the amazing staff that we have for the league and the production crew this season. The producers, the casters, the analysts, the graphics artists, the website designers, the tournament operators, the referees, and everyone in between. You guys are what made us successful this season, and in such a short amount of time that I never would have believed it before we actually pulled it off. Thank you so much for all of your contributions this season, and I will never be able to express my gratitude enough for all of the amazing work that you've done, including our partners here at the Esports Stadium. Our mission here at Challengers Uprising is to enable the players and their staff to have a more straightforward path to the pro scene. I know it's been a confusing time. I know that some of you may have been told to go play collegiate, maybe you get told to focus on solo queue or stream or go to Europe, Australia, play solo queue in Korea. Who knows, right? There's really no straightforward path to pro that exists today, and our mission is to change that. We're going to help you promote your brands and get more recognition here in North America by playing competitive 5v5 rather than solo queue or in other regions. We're going to be working with pro teams and scouts, receiving feedback on what they want to see on how they can more effectively scout North American talent. And we're going to provide that to them. We're also going to give you guys events worth playing in. We were originally planning on having the grand finals here at the Esports Stadium in Arlington, but unfortunately COVID made that impossibility. But we promise that we're going to give you more events worth playing in the future. We're here for you guys, but we couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much for all your support. Enjoy the stream tonight, and good luck to both teams.
Thank you so much, Chrono, for those kind words. And, it truly means a lot. And Veteran, I know, come from a similar place with your work over in the European regionals, that being able to start and give a place for any upcoming young amateur players who want to get to the professional level, it's so nice that Challengers Uprising is providing that bridge.
Yeah, and the big benefit that Challengers Uprising is able to give that the Academy League isn't is that within most of the teams in Challengers Uprising, their big focus is on that one specific team itself. There is no real big division there. They are all invested in this one particular team doing as well as it possibly can. We're not going to ever use them as like a bench squad or anything like this. So what he talked about, giving a path for players to develop to one day make it towards the big leagues, is a massive deal, and it is the big thing that this region needs, right? The academy thing is not really a function the same way that the ERLs are, but this absolutely can be. And I honestly love open circuit tournaments. The French scene did this for a long time. Now they have the LFL league, but they had a big open tournament circuit, and there were so many storylines that you could build from that because every single game mattered. There was a new start to finish every couple of weeks. You could bring so many narratives in to suck an audience in, and if you build an audience, you build attention, you build brand recognition on all these players, you're giving them all the tools they really do need to succeed in the big leagues, right? When they'll have all of that attention on them 24/7, whether they like it or not. It makes them attractive to them. I really do love what's being started here. I love the way Challengers Uprising have run the whole thing, and I love the intent here and everything that you said about trying to create a space for all of these guys to get on their first teams, start getting on the ladder, is something I fully support, and it's something the region needs if it wants to end up competing at Worlds one day. It can do that. It's a bit far away, but it can do that, and it starts at places like this, right?
Yeah, it all has to start somewhere, right? We cannot expect this to be a quick temporary Band-Aid fix. We have to start from the roots. And obviously, with anything that's beautiful, it takes time to grow and nurture over in a course of 1, 2, maybe 3 years down the line. But if North America as a whole is ready to take that step, then maybe we can finally compete at an international level. But without further ado, I believe the casters are ready to take us away to draft game 1. Brother TJ, are you there, my friend?
I am. I was hearing some talk. I was hearing some people didn't have faith in ANEW.
All right, TJ, we went over this. Like, they got stomped by 100 Thieves next yesterday. I mean, like, the odds are against them. What is your personal prediction on the whole matter?
Well, it's ANEW 3-0, Rafa, and I have two very good reasons for it. One, if you count the number of analysts who predicted ANEW, and this means including Foxy in the predictions, we are tied dead even, so the series is 50-50. And two, if ANEW win, if they smash this series, Veteran has to start a new TikTok account, and I cannot wait for that.
All right, I don't know if that's going to happen, but if it does, I'm all for that on that train. I would love to see I would love to see a veteran do some TikTok dance videos, but that's still a very hot take there, TJ. So I don't know how that's going to fare out for you.
I think I'm going to struggle. I have 3 hot guests of my own here to balance it out. We have a 3-man tri-cast here for the grand finals. I am, of course, joined again by Matt Naviria Clendaniel, but we've added our new friend, Ibras, who joined us previously in the playoffs. You're now with the full squad.
Yeah, very glad to be in between the two of you. Hopefully I'm not coming in between anything too intimate here. Anyway, well, power to you if that is the case. But yeah, happy to be here, joining after playoffs. It was 2 semis and a quarter that I did cover, and yeah, certainly excited to see how this one plays out. Come on, how am I supposed to keep a straight face when you're just laughing non-stop?
That is a record, Ibras. I love it. We are, of course, headed into an astounding grand final. It is the Am-Slam. I believe that's the term you coined, Naviria.
Yeah, the Grand Slam is a concept in baseball, but I feel like we need to mix it up. League of Legends is its own thing, and it's North American Amateur, therefore Amateur Slam. You put them together, you have a portmanteau and some fantastic branding for ANEW, if they're able to pull it off.
The amateur slamateur is almost complete for 100 Thieves. They do need to complete today's game, though, Ibras. We were talking on the desk. We both have faith in ANEW. You are more on the traditionalist side of things. Why do you think 100 Thieves will close out this series?
Yeah, maybe it's because Cubby is dressed like a very handsome salesman, and he was very, very good at selling me on 100 Thieves X. But also, just think about the fact that even in that single victory we saw last night, I mean, not to be kind of recent history biased, but you kind of have to be. And honestly, that one game that we saw a new take there was simply because 100 Thieves decided not to win.
Well, I have some more analytical opinions that I offered to Rafa, and we can get into them in a sec. But first, we do have a draft. Matt, we're kicking things off in the ban phase. Is there anything you especially wanted to see targeted here?
So some of the problems that I saw yesterday in the series between 100 Thieves and ANEW, of course, 100 Thieves did take that, as we mentioned earlier. I think they need to give a little bit more direction to that bot lane, give them some safer options, especially towards the support position, because we saw Winter having some uncharacteristic flukes there. I want to see them focus their draft up towards the top lane, give the bot lane something safe, and give my boy Rodov some way to carry. Man's a monster. Let him show it.
One of my big things, Ibras, coming into this was I wanted to see 100 Thieves next build their draft around the presence we saw from their own bot lane. We saw some incredible play from Auto, from Shurya over that series. It looked a little bit shakier, but still good. How do you feel about that bot lane battle as we start drafting things?
Yeah, in terms of the 2v2 there, there's a huge advantage in favor of 100 Thieves in general. A little bit apprehensive as to why you'd ban the Ezreal out when it has been so good for Yarn, but at the same time, securing the Karma, really beautiful because, yeah, you can flex it top, flex it mid, flex it bot for auto, and just draft yourself a champion that pretty much guarantees a winning bot lane state non-stop.
We get a similarly flexible first pick that will be a set picked up right off the bat for ANEW. They follow through though, and we were asking for a safer bot lane over on the ANEW side. They start things off with a Senna, Matt.
This is interesting to me. The reason I think Ibras they went for the Ezreal ban makes sense to me a lot, because if you want to give Shoryu and Winter the safest bot lane possible, just toss them on Ezreal Braum, be like, just don't die. Let Fire and Rodov carry us through the early mid, and then late game, sure, you can pop off. The Senna, I'm not as sold on. It is a fantastic carry. I want to see if they go for Starvation Senna, but given last night's performances, I want to see this more as a traditional AD carry Senna. Just play safe in the lane, play back, and just utilize that range. But that's going to be really difficult into a Caitlyn.
Yeah, is Starvation Senna like the more aggressive version of the Fasting Senna that most people refer to it as, or what? Yeah, well, that being said,
she's just chatter about it.
Honestly, Karma Caitlyn, dominant lane back in Season 7, really good at securing early pressure. You auto-attack the Senna from 2 screens away, which is very similar to what she likes to do early on in the lane. Just a really good answer there. And once you shove that Senna bot lane in, really difficult for her to wrangle any kind of priority back. And yeah, just really easy to coordinate dives into that bottom lane. That's why I think the Ornn ties together this 100 Thieves first rotation beautifully, because it means they can play exclusively for their bot lane pressure.
I want to hit on everything you just talked about 100 Thieves. You're absolutely right. They are nailing this draft so far. I love the poke they have right off the bat. I love the Caitlyn in the bot lane's hands. ANEW are getting spicy though. We still don't know where that set is. It's probably going top lane. That would be my guess. That is a very good pick if it goes that way, because we all like ANEW's top lane and we all like Rodov getting the chance to punish a little bit more. And then Winter, who struggled quite a bit in the series versus 100 Thieves last night in Upsurge, seems to have pulled himself a Blitzcrank, man.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to turn my brain off for a second and be like, yeah, Blitzcrank, let's go. I love it. I love spicy support picks. But then I remember what I saw last night, and I'm loving it a little bit less. I think some of the decision-making Winter showed last night was not the best. Okay, Gangplank as well.
Yeah, so Ibras is this jungle set.
Yeah, jungle set pretty much going to be the way forward. Mike Young, his pool has been pretty good in general, but with Trundle banned out, Nidalee Graves both banned out as well, it does limit his options. That being said, NXI's options even more limited here. Will be really intriguing to see what they opt into. That's a good one. I do want to touch on this Blitzcrank that Niberia did mention though, because Blitzcrank, really easy once you die 2 or 3 times to just rack up 6, 7 more deaths trying to greed for vision, especially at this level of play. And it's going to be really, really pretty much a trial by fire for Winter to get back on the board. He needs to do well early, he needs to maintain that lead, and he needs to not get a little bit overzealous when it comes to choking out the aggressive vision that Blitzcrank really needs to really succeed as a champ.
The full run back. So Copy, with his more passive mid style, will be handed this Karma. We get a Bard down towards the bot lane to maybe make sure that Blitzcrank can't accomplish its goals. A little bit of a safety net established there for the very powerful bot lane of Yawn and Orta. And ANEW are now struggling, I think, to come with a coherent draft here. I see potential should they get late. Is that what we're looking at for them?
Honestly, looking at what ANEW have right now, I like the Silas into the Ornn. We changed that last second. Beautiful counter pick there. But wait, actually, how do you send the Silas to counter pick the Ornn?
The Silas has to be mid, right? That's the
potentially.
That's the 5 fire pack.
Or is it 5 fire GP?
No, I refuse to accept that word.
Right.
I want to see Silas 5 fire because that's exactly the kind of champ he pops off on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Definitely
I'd say so. The one thing I would say, 5 Fire's aggression is well noted, as is Mike Young's. This does give them potential to go for some fantastic 2v2s because that's a lot of skirmishing potential, especially with the Petricite burst coming out from Silas every time you cast a spell, extra damage on that auto attack, extra engages in the jungle. But they're against a Lee Sin. And that is one of the strongest early game junglers in the meta right now. And I think, period, there's very few that can out jungle an early game Lee Sin. So I worry a little bit now for Mike Young's aggressive style when he's into NXI's Lee Sin, because we have seen NXI already in a short time in amateur just pop the absolute hell off on these aggressive champions.
Yeah, the junglers that could rival that Lee Sin are either banned or surprisingly absent, like the Volibear, for example. That being said, it's not that hyper-volatile, hyper-aggressive Lee Sin LeBlanc duo that have been taking kind of regions by storm globally, but at the same time, Karma should have perma-push mid, should always react faster than the Silas, get to back up her jungler just that little bit quicker, and nature of the champion, she's got a speed up on the shield, she's got a shield. This mid-jungle duo really, really difficult to deal with from the side of 100 Thieves next.
So let's talk a little bit about this top lane matchup, because we saw this last night, right? We saw this exact matchup, but mirrored. We saw Rodolph on the Ornn absolutely able to pop off, and Fallen Bandit fell a little bit behind on the Ornn, if I recall correctly. But the mirror of it now, are we just trusting that Rodolph is going to be able to pop off enough in the top lane? I have seen some top laners in amateur fail to make the gangplank matter before. You sit up there, you farm until 200 CS, and your team's already dead.
Yeah, my main concern for the side of 100 Thieves next will be the fact that Caitlyn has a mid-game lull, and right now she seems to be the only real consistent source of damage past that early lane phase. So 100 Thieves next, they need to do a lot with their early lead, and they need to transition themselves into the late game as quick as possible.
100 Thieves have that gap in the middle of their video game where all of a sudden things could get dicey. And if that goes wrong, to answer your question, Matt, to loop it all together, if that mid-game goes wrong, then we're in a world where the GP starts mattering a lot. Then we're in a world where I think that late game could get kind of messy. And I want to go back to an observation you actually made, Ibris, when we were watching these series during the Cup regular season, and that is that 100 Thieves quite regularly make some iffy macro plays right around that critical mid-game that we've highlighted from this draft.
Yeah, definitely do have to watch for that. Of course, your options with Caitlyn are a little bit limited compared to some of the other champs in the meta. And that being said, I actually like the options that ANEW have for some of the more crazier mid-game fights for themselves, just because live and die by a blitz hook. You can afford to do that. If a fight looks kind of precarious, just disengage with a GP ult. So many options for ANEW in terms of either engage or disengage that I think we really need to see 100 Thieves next as having that slightly harder to execute draft with, as we mentioned, that really, really easily noticed mid-game kind of lull that ANEW need to take advantage of.
I'm going to bounce this off you, Matt. We were talking an awful lot about the jungle matchup. We've got Set into Lee Sin, NXI, the young blood, versus Mike Young, who, after leaving Academy, has had kind of a career renaissance around this aggressive mid lane that can be provided by the presence of Fivefire, by the way that ANEW play as a whole team. Who are you favoring here?
I think overall, I'm just going to be favoring ANEW because I don't care as much about the mid jungle matchup as anyone else on this desk. These guys knew it. That's why they're both smiling. I want to pull the focus all the way up to the tippy top of the map because my boy Rodov is going to smash some fools tonight. I have seen this man absolutely crush on tenacity as well. He had an Ornn versus Camille and absolutely smashed the hell out of that lane in the early game. In a previous series here in Challengers Uprising, we have seen him do so much in the top lane, and he gets slept on by literally every single person I talk to. I'm like, Rodov's really good. They're like, no, he's not. He's just kind of there. I'm like, yeah, but look at the numbers. The man's a monster every single game.
He is the safety blanket you need with a composition like this in a best-of-5 series like this. We have not just, of course, the FACEIT qualifying points on the line, which are important, but we also have $15,000 just here in Challengers Uprising up for grabs. And as we've been talking about, if 100 Thieves win this series, this best-of-5, they will have won every amateur tournament towards the end of this season, the Grand Slamateur, I believe we're calling it now. That's continued morphing. I'm sorry, Matt. I want final words. I do this to Ibris a lot. I don't do it to you a lot, Matt, so this is new for you. I want the final word. Who's winning this game? You've seen the draft. Ibris, then Matt. Go.
ANEW.
I wanted to say ANEW. Fine, I'll be a sheep. ANEW.
All right, I like this because we've turned full circle. 100 Thieves, with a slightly harder to execute draft, have brought it to bear. The question marks are all over their heads. And no, it's not just me thinking. Game number 1 of our grand finals here at Challengers Uprising Season 1 has kicked off.
And right out the gate, you see pretty standard assignments. 100 just on the full defensive saying, look, Blitzcrank on the enemy team, probably going to go for a bit of a crazy invade at level 1, because why the hell wouldn't you? But actually, good read from ANEW to be wise to it and just say, all right, we kind of want to chill here. We're relaxing, and with this set starting top, could see some early action bot, but not level 1 action that we were hoping for.
I like that we went to
level 1 stack here from 100 Thieves. They are so ready for a red buff invade.
Blitzcrank, Blitzcrank, Blitzcrank.
I like that we went a completely different direction from the analyst desk, because I just know how pissed they will be once we actually get chatting with them again. Because they were all like setting up 100 Thieves, you know, are the better team. They're coming off of the victory, and we even converted Ibris, Matt, by the end of this.
We have powerful analytical energy. Ibris has the big brain, but we have small brains with much power.
And we have big hearts. That's what matters.
Did you convince me, or did the single damage threat Caitlyn composition convince me? This is a lot of faith in Jan, and granted, last night, Upsurge Finals put on an insane performance where, you know, just playing through the bot lane reaped the rewards for 100. And yet, at the same time, it's not only a lot of faith, but a little bit of oversight, it feels like, given the strength of the solo laners from ANEW.
I like the idea of putting all your faith in somebody as strong as Yonda. And don't forget, he does have that safety blanket of Auto's Bard, and we were loving Auto last night. This is early, man.
Oh yeah, NXI going in for the invade, but Mike Young's already there to respond. Nothing huge taken so far. Copy roaming up out into the mid lane as well, so shouldn't turn into an engage. Oh, Fire goes in, Abscond Abduct. There's the Kingslayer as well. So much damage already onto Copy. Has to burn another charge of his potion, but will get out of that alive. They're still
Already
going.
a ton of skirmishing, and this has been a big invade. There's the hook you were looking for, Matt. And XI dropped down to half HP. Nothing more comes of it, but early aggression across the map.
Honestly, it's what we wanted to see from the side of 100 Thieves. You use this Lee Sin with his early skirmish advantage. You directly counterpick in that jungle position in particular. Karma, as we said, rotates that a little bit faster. But what they weren't banking on was the fact that Blitzcrank is Blitzcrank. One hook, one not quite kill, but mild inconvenience on the Lee Sin. And that does mean that he's in no position to duel the set. And that will mean that Mike Young secures a pretty free blue buff for himself.
Yeah, he's just up there free as can be, just taking away every camp he can because there's no way that NXI can contest.
I'm here for them causing mild inconvenience to your lane opponents. And that's the greatest victory of all. We were talking about early game dominance to 100 Thieves. Ibras, is this matching your expectations? At what point do you... Oh, I'll hold this. Copy in trouble, man.
Copy gets stunned up almost, but finds the root almost as well. The flash away from Fire. Mike Young, the TP from Fallen Bandit, not going to be enough. That was a lot expended in this mid. 2 flashes from both mid laners.
Yeah, a little bit of miscommunication there with the TP commitment to come through. 100, they had that pushing mid, and yet it is ANEW that make the proactive play. It is ANEW that show up, and it is ANEW that actually kind of win out on that.
I'll go back to that. 100 Thieves seem pretty desperate to make things happen during this early game. Making me believe they have a similar analysis to you, Ibras. And it's not worked out just yet.
No, definitely need to keep an eye on how this plays out from here on out. Because now you have a quite vulnerable Karma, you have a Lee Sin whose first attempt at aggression didn't really work out, and now you have an Ornn that's a little bit far behind in lane against the GP. And once this GP gets rolling, it's really easy for him to take over the game and then snowball into something that the solo laners cannot deal with in a side up.
Oh, good hook. Auto in trouble. Does get rooted. The heal will keep him up for now, and the magical journey gets him to safety.
Winter now!
Winter's up the chase, but NXI has the save. And first blood of your grand finals, improbably enough, goes to 100 Thieves.
I don't... Oh my god, that was so disappointing for me. I was watching from a news perspective, and 100 Thieves were absolutely shoving in this lane. Shoryu was getting punished. Winter lands this beautiful hook under tower. You think it's going to be enough. I don't think you follow through on that magical journey. You're just putting yourself in so much danger. Even if you get the kill, you die and don't get anything off it.
Mike Young.
Mike Young in here for the Drake. 700 HP as Fire comes in. Oh! Stolen away by 100 Thieves. Mike Young cannot collect the Drake. And things go from bad to worse. At the very least, they do pick off Auto. But ANEW are now down a first Drake as well.
Actually, very solid pickup on the Drake there from the side of 100 Thieves. They get their first blood bot, they rotate up immediately, and Mike Young books it into that pit. And yet, as soon as they see him, they get out of there, and yeah, straight in, straight out, straight back out after securing it. Really, really nicely done by the rookie jungler of this 100 Thieves lineup.
Pull the Forge God onto Rhoda. Flash will dodge, but it will not save him. The coach difference in the top lane, Matt.
That was so rough. I mean, I think the problem that I'm having so far with this game is that ANEW seem to be making micro after micro mistake. Here comes Auto.
Just parking. Nothing more. That God. I'm with you. I'm so alarmed because ANEW are just making a few different micro mistakes. That over-aggression from Winter was one. The over-aggression again in the top lane from Rodot was another. And I'm a little bit worried coming out of that series that we had last night. Maybe the reset hasn't come through.
Yeah, how are you gonna get solo killed by Fallen Bandit of all players here? It's the mid.
Fire.
Oh, in the mid lane, there's another fight going on. I think someone's about to die.
I think we're good. It got a little bit risky, but we revolved back to the top lane where the battle is going on, and it looks like everyone down in that mid lane brawl did manage to slip away. I raised the potential that maybe a reset hadn't come through from last night. What I meant by that was it feels like ANEW are pushing a little bit too hard for some of these kills. Ibras, you made a similar comment earlier in this. But Matt,
well, no,
we're
more
starting
action
things
mid
off again.
first. The pull-in copy, he doesn't have the flash left. Kill going over to Mike Young. Easy secure there, ANEW finding their way back into the game, slowly but surely.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that top lane trade where you just saw Fallen Bandit all in, 6 minutes 30. It's when Ornn gets the spell shard from the spell book, but here's another fight.
Another hook. Yon in trouble. Will get rooted underneath the cannon barrage. And that is a critical kill in the bot lane. Auto may not even manage to escape here. He's bolted away from the turret. Will flash away. It's a great stun from Auto. He finds the kill. I do not believe it. Auto, you absolute smurf.
Yeah, Winter not really having the game of his life again. And as you mentioned, perhaps ANEW not really shaking off the tilt quite yet, but looking to tilt NXI.
NXI is in so much trouble. Call the Force Guy going out to try and defend him. Vodor gets knocked up. There comes the ultimate from Senna as well. Vodor's in so much trouble because Fivefire just has not turned to help him. Call the Force Guy from him in return. NXI still alive. Tempered Fate as well. This fight has gone all kinds of sideways for ANEW. Fallen Bandit finally goes down, and Winter's here. Is it in time to save his mid laner? Just barely. Now Fivefire wants to go back in, finds the dash, finds the kill. Winter as well picks up his second kill of the game, and Fivefire somehow made it out of that one alive.
TP, it's still continuing here. Rotation.
I do not
between
believe
the
it.
towers. Oh god, NXI goodbye.
They hunt down NXI. And that is a kill again to ANEW, as in an explosion of action, Ibras. They brought this.
Yeah,
series
Winter almost dropping on the side of that as well, but because ANEW get that teamfight victory, they can get the Herald on top of it, they can run with that, use the momentum, accelerate into this mid game that is so terrible for 100 to navigate, and NXI hits a max range Lee Sin Q to secure a kill, and then misses the most freest of ones, and ends up losing the play because of it.
Here is a Rift Herald to connect, take down this turret up top. Fallen Bandit's got to run away. And all of a sudden, Ibras, you're looking like a prophet. Despite early game mistakes, ANEW managing to pull several successful engagements out here, and this could be another one, Matt.
Oh, no, it's not. Sure, you just gets taken out by
How did he get
Caitlyn.
that?
Vodor as well in the top lane. But let's talk a little bit about that bottom lane again, because this is something that I saw earlier. Yon has been punishing the hell out of Shoryu's positioning every single step along the way in this lane. You look at that tower, it's only got one plate left on it. This Caitlyn, sure, she falls apart in the mid game a little bit, but that early game is so ridiculous.
We do see a turret get picked up in the top lane a couple of moments ago. I think that's worth noting. Because that was entirely off of Fallen Bandit. He finds the turn, they find this pressure onto Rodon, but he is again losing his lane. And this has been a constant for 100 Thieves.
Yeah, genuinely, it's weak side Ornn. I don't know what you're expecting there, to be honest, but I'm more enticed by that bot lane play because you see Winter about to line up a perfect hook after the E followed the flash, and yet because Shoryu insta-drops, it's not possible. Fallen Bandit here, looking for a contest.
For the Forge Guard will come through. That is a massive cast, and that has resulted in absolutely nothing somehow.
Just dodged their way out of the fight quite expertly there. Oh my god, those traps that they're dodging through right now. A little bit of trouble there, but the fancy footwork will keep them alive. Dragon being taken up by ANEW there as well.
Lot of early game, it has to be said, being handed over to ANEW in a draft that, Ibras, you said 100 Thieves had to win the early game in.
Yeah, definitely, and that's why you saw NXI making the aggressive maneuvers on that Lee Sin early, just using the fact Karma will have perma-push mid. And now you're running into the issue of this Caitlyn needing to do so much better than anyone else in this game because she's the only form of damage past the 25-minute mark. Yes, Ornn, Karma, the base damage is nice, but they're glorified supports. It's Karma, Ornn, Bard, Lee, all playing around one big Caitlyn. What are you freaking out about? Blue buff?
He didn't get it. 5 fire. Okay. I'm very impressed by the fact that they managed to pass that over. Sick team coordination. Priority on 5 fire. Very cool.
Didn't you love playing GP and having 70 CS at 13 minutes?
No. I do think that is a place we should return, Matt, because you were talking a lot about the prophecy of Rodov up here in this top lane. And it's been a little bit of a letdown, despite the fact that he's arguably winning lane, despite the fact that he won a lot of those early trades versus Fallen Bandit. There's a clear focus on knocking him out.
So I think that Rodov has really been feeling the pressure of last night's series this game. He's making a lot of uncharacteristic positioning mistakes, and they're not like super high level, oh my god, there's no way he could have predicted this. He's just randomly pushing into their blue buff and making these over aggressive plays. We see this a lot in players who feel like they're pressured to be the sole carry of the team. Just that mental weight of being like, okay, if I don't pop off, we kind of lose. And Rodov's gameplay has really been punished from it. We've seen him get picked off multiple times this game from missed positions. He really needs to center himself and figure out where he needs to be at all times.
Fallen Bandit in trouble as Mark Young arrives. That is a kill back in Rodov's bank account. That is something back to the good of the struggling top laner, Ibris.
Yeah, definitely do look at this GP as kind of quietly scaling up with the rest of the team here. Well, something that isn't quiet is this loud as hell mid lane matchup.
Yeah, 5 fire has been really impressive this game, and he keeps going with the tempered frame from across the map. Will nail him down. Sure, he did find copy. Oh, the hook. That's not the pull you want today, XI. He's already gone. Auto slam down as well. Everyone is taking a bubble bath inside the cannon barrage, and just like that, ANEW are at a dominant lead.
Yeah, we've hit the point of the game where the Caitlyn is a cannon minion. Scaling up towards the late game already, should be the name of the game for 100 Thieves. It is Farm Fest for them, and ANEW are punishing it.
I am genuinely in awe, Matt, of the speed at which this game turned. It looks like 100 Thieves had a solid start. We didn't even hit that mid-game win condition. Check out this play.
Yeah, looking at this again, the problem that I had here was, ironically, the Tempered Fate just saved 5 Fire's life entirely. And from there, they didn't have anything. You get the hook onto NXI as well. And from there, Mike Young goes with the flip back into the middle of the team fight and pulls in Auto. Just 3 members just absolutely smashed to pieces by the side of ANEW, who are now establishing a very healthy lead at the 15-minute mark.
Honestly, looking at what ANEW have going for themselves right now, yes, it's a sizable gold lead, 3k, nice. Some of that is hidden in the fact that GP is in this game, but also consider the fact that this team, they have a very, very good spike around these items for the Silas, around next couple of items for GP and Senna, of course, and you're just looking at a team that has a much more convincing grasp over the mid game relative to what 100 Thieves have. Wait, sure, another 10 minutes, and maybe then we'll see 100 Thieves be able to contest in a 5v5, but until then, the map belongs to ANEW.
Drake will come up here. This would be the second Drake for either team that picks it up, as is, though it will currently be ANEW scooping it into their bank accounts. Actually, a 5 fire Winter getting real aggressive here on copy, Matt. Oh, what a good flash.
Beautiful flash, but they traded away for this Cloud Drake here. So 2 Drakes in the pocket there for ANEW. And now off the back of that, they want to go for the Rift Herald push here in the mid lane for 100 Thieves.
Rift Herald.
Yeah, Rift Herald going to help accelerate their, whatever, get them back into the game at least, but...
Ooh. Call to Forge God instantly to respond. Fallen Bandit will be knocked up. That's 5 fire. Huge plays. Mark Young already shut down Yawn again. Fallen Bandit, the second kill in the fight. And it is 2 priority targets annihilated before the fight even begins.
And Winter is like, not my game, guys, but the rest of you are smurfing. Look at 5 fire in the mid lane, 10 out of 13 kill participations. Mike Young on the board as well, with that first engage just really stunning. Finds everyone he needed to, and once Yon is dead, how does this 100 Thieves team fight? Granted, it's the mid game where Caitlyn's a cannon. Unless
Looks like we have another engage
Ooh,
going on
magical
already.
journey.
Auto's in so
Auto.
much trouble. Barely survives, but they find the pull on to copy as well. Now the mid laner of 100 Thieves in trouble, might be able to find his way out of it. Fire going in for the engage here on the second tier turret, but will they find the hook? Nope, goes a little bit wide.
NXI and Copy were both kind of lucky to survive that whole series of engagements, and just complete jungle dominance has occurred around them. Their survival is only necessary because red buff's taken away, most of the raptors are taken away. Hang on, Eon's trying to steal some back. I believe. Matt, this CS difference, he's working it back.
Oh man, he's got that 30 CS difference, don't worry about it. Sure, his team's down 5k gold, but Raptors secured.
Yeah, and speaking of Yarn and necessary survival, this comp is live and die by Caitlyn. If this crit GP finds a single barrel onto Yarn at any stage of the mid to late game, the team fight is over for 100 Thieves. If this Caitlyn drops, if this Caitlyn is even threatened by a Blitzcrank or a set and unable to free cast, then 100 Thieves comp just falls flat. You have 4 supports, well, Lee Sin's not really a support, but 3.5 supports, and Caitlyn essentially as this 100 Thieves comp. And it's just a really, really rough composition to execute.
We're pausing a bit as 100 Thieves do God knows what in the jungle. I do want to call 2 things out. First of all, you're right. Eon, was completely shut out of this game. And second of all, what has changed from that Upsurge series that happened last night, Mike Young is no longer in Trundle jail, where he spent the majority of that series. He's now playing a support or a jungle he can get aggressive on. And that, I feel, has made the difference. It's let Fire have somebody to back him up on this aggression path.
No longer getting bonked back into Trundle jail, as you said, and he's been able to find some beautiful engages in these fights. And I think giving him something with playmaking potential is a must. If I see him put on Trundle one more time, I'm going to cry. Engage may come out
Mike
here.
Young.
Oh, Mike Young's here to initiate it, in fact. Stun will land, and they will back away.
That is not a man who deserves Trundle, Ibris. That is a man who deserves better.
I mean, credit to him for just turning on the playmaking despite getting routed out early, but
Oh,
100?
also, what on earth is that magical journey? Everyone else follows. 100 Thieves go in, but the Temperate Fate misses. Call the Forge God will go through. It's the GP ult instantly to slow down the chase. And ANEW were able to slip away. And now, having weathered the storm, they'd like to find the turn. There's Winter for the front lines. Hook will go wide. Fallen Bandit will try and respond. Full engage from NXI. Oh, the ult. 5 fires taken out. And that is a fantastic start to the fight for 100 Thieves. ANEW need to just kite back and get out of this mess. All the while, Rodov, it should be noted, is taking turret. Winter, if he can stall enough, will have bought in him for his team. They've sent Yon back to try and stop this, and I think he's here in time.
Yeah, Rodov and Shoryu just free casting on turrets. Granted, Senna doesn't actually push or really do anything at all, but the GP having the time of his life. Good disengage with the cannon barrage, good disengage, and then attempt to turn from ANEW, but when you miss the set re-engage, when you miss the blitz hook for the re-engage, you don't really have too much of a case for a fight there, and they do end up losing, trying to buy more time for this GP to split push.
So I'm sitting here and wondering, Ibris, like, is this GP actually accomplishing his goal at this point? During lane, he was having a whole lot of trouble. Rodov was really getting caught out multiple times, and the team is now making plays around the map without him. I don't know if that engage was necessarily worth it. You lose 2 to get, what, half an inhib tower?
Is this one worth it?
Ooh, maybe.
But no, yeah, granted, I think the GP is just happy to farm at this point.
Oh my god. This keeps getting messier. Winter's so out of position here. Fallen Bandit would like the engage, and he barely can't find it. Instead, he gets poked down. Call the Forge God will come through. That's 5 fire onto the team. No HP on Yawn. Fallen Bandit pulled in, blown up. Copy did find a snare. Now he's just trying to escape through the magical journey, but I don't think they have enough speed. Matt, this is all going awry. Auto could get shut down as well.
Auto's going to be going golden. The hook lands. They find another kill. And ANEW are going to turn back onto the Baron.
This
And
could
we
be
knew
it.
that ANEW wanted that one because they TP'd in the GP. We thought it would be for the Cloud Drake, but it was for the other neutral objective. One much bigger one much more of a game decider, and one that ANEW will happily take now that they've taken 100 Thieves out of the fight.
That call the Forge got from
this fight,
Fire
the
was
big
better
issue I
than
would
any
say
of the
here-
ones Fallen Bandit has cast.
I think the big issue with this fight, though, was that engage that Fallen Bandit tried to find and
Yeah.
just narrowly missed it. And from there, the re-engage was just too strong from the entirety of ANEW. Mike Young was able to chase down Otto after he used the magical journey to escape. And from there, it was just pick after pick after pick after pick. And now 100 Thieves, Ibras, we were worried about the mid game for them. It's starting to get even more and more worrying. They're down 6K now, and this Caitlyn, the only threat, as you said, is only sitting at 2-2-2.
Yeah, definitely do have to look at Yarn as being that single win condition, and 100 Thieves are just banking on a 30, 40, 45-minute game where the Caitlyn just goes untouched in all of these fights. Issue being that, of course, everyone is fed on the side of ANEW pretty much now and can easily just ruin her day. Even Blitz, while not necessarily being able to solo kill her, can just hook her and it's game over. But at the same time, it's not all doom and gloom for 100. They did trade back a Cloud Drake. They can look towards an Elder as being like a semi-win condition later on, but it means they can't lose too much off of this Baron when both solo laners of ANEW can confidently split push.
Call the Forge Guard from Fallen Bandit. Oh, Tempered Fate as well. This is actually huge. TP will come through from ANEW. They'd like to stall this out. Fallen Bandit hooked in. 5 Byron trouble, but will zone off the rest of the team. Fallen Bandit all alone versus 4 now. And he's down. And despite a beautiful engage for 100 Thieves, they're the one who lose out.
Last night, I was saying, Winter, what the hell are you doing? Now, saying the same thing, but it's with a much more positive tone. That hook onto Fallen Bandit just saved that entire fight for ANEW. It pulled Rodov into safety because there was nobody on him, and then suddenly Fallen Bandit is stuck in the middle of an entire ANEW team, plus 5Fire TPing in on the flank.
Yeah, oh god. Yeah, you can tell ANEW are ahead because they can split push despite facing off against so much on-demand hard engage. In fact, they're going for engages of their own to really hammer home that they are massively ahead right now.
Winter will miss that one. First hook he's missed in a while. Fallen Bandit and co do need his play safe behind their turret. This is the Baron buff kind of taking down though, man. And I don't think they've quite achieved the dream goals, the game-ending goals. This is at most going to be an inhibitor turret down, nothing more.
I don't think they have to achieve their game-ending goals right now. You know, you don't have to end the game now. You have to end the game before Caitlyn becomes unstoppable.
Oh, what a hook! That might be it. Shoryu finds the kill, and just like that, Auto is off the battlefield. Here's the turn. Big damage in. Bodor and Mike Young, they absolutely annihilate NXI. Copy's the only member left behind the turret, and I spoke too soon. That will be ANEW opening up the base. Fallen Bandit's in huge trouble, and he will be the second to last member of 100 Thieves here to defend the Nexus.
And not only do the 4 supports not deal damage in a team fight, but they don't do damage to threaten the gangplank. One big crit on a barrel from Rodov, and that is game in favor of ANEW.
Game number 1, scooped up by the underdogs. It's a last attempt from 100 Thieves as their dreams of a grand slam in the NA amateur scene are ripped away in map number 1.
TJ, you're calling them the underdogs. ANEW are underdogs to no one. We were calling this in the predictions. My beautiful, beautiful big brain guest analyst Foxy was calling it in the predictions. I knew this was going to be the result. I just didn't know this was quite how they were going to get there.
Yeah, the draft really made me think, all right, my predictions have already gone out the window, and, well, sad to say, time has indeed told. Single threat, Caitlyn. What, you know, like when you have that rule of thumb of casters of check in every now and again on a team's win condition in the state of the game, checking on the state of the game and how likely this team's going to be winning this fight. That was basically just checking on the state of the Caitlyn, who was wholly underwhelming for the entirety of the game, largely because the team had drafted around something that they really struggled to play around.
I think that's a really good thing to build off of, because we obviously didn't see a fantastic game from the Caitlyn player themselves. That wasn't the best performance we've seen from the 100 Thieves bot lane. But also, ANEW played much better than they had previously, and it was because they shifted their focus to shut down that bot lane.
Granted, we had our reservations in the first 5 minutes, because I do remember, they still tilted from last night. And yeah, I was inclined to agree, honestly.
That was Winter.
Yeah, true enough.
As Matt was talking about, Winter did so much better. There was a game last night during the Upsurge series where he had dropped 3 kills by the 5-minute mark. He had died 3 times. And this was an entirely different Blitzcrank once we got past the first few minutes.
So much infinitely better of a performance from, I'd say, the entire team. And I do really think there was a little bit of tilt going on, and they shook that off going into the game later on as they had a mental reset. It felt like around like the 23-minute mark. Someone on the team just said, hey guys, we're kind of doing all right. Like, this is going so much better than last night. We can 100% take this. And then from there on out, every single play that ANEW made was crisp and immaculate. And I think that is their strength as a team, is their macro. Their micro positioning and micro errors in terms of team fight execution were what halted them in the early mid game. But once the game turned to just macro, they played it fantastically and just ran it through the late game.
And I want to say they are a team that has looked like they're losing lanes very consistently against 100 Thieves, right? That has always been the story of this matchup. When they get wins over 100 Thieves, as you were saying, Matt, it does come from the team fighting. But the one lane they don't lose consistently against 100 Thieves is 5 Fire and mid. And we saw them unleashed. No more Galio, no more Karma. This is a man who's playing Silas, and he's having a great time, Everest.
Yeah, quietly, just consistent in that early game, kind of stymied any sort of early pressure this Karma output by responding to attempted roams, responding to wave clear, and just picking really choice opportunities to engage. That being said, though, I actually do want to look at the other solo laner of ANEW there, because the GP solo died to an Ornn in lane. Because as we said, Ornn, 6 minutes 30, gets his spell shard, swaps the ignite, goes all in with ult. It's really telegraphed. It's obvious. It happens every game we see a spellbook Ornn. And yet he still dies to it, greeds for it, but maybe it was the wake-up call that Rodov really needed to step the hell up on this gangplank.
And much to Matt's joy, he did. He was part of those game-turning team fights. He was part of ANEW taking game number 1 over 100 Thieves in the grand final that some said would never happen. I'm looking forward to Veterans' TikTok account. We're going to go to a lightning fast break. We do have another game to come. In fact, we have a best of 5 series still to come as we wrap up who the best team in NA Amateur is.